Hello and welcome to another episode of a weekly Waypoint. This week we are back in Mario Kart DS, where I am playing through the last two cups of modern races, but also I deleted one race from each cup that was the most boring for the sake of time. Mario Kart's annoying because I always like having these weekly Waypoints be around 15 minutes long, give or take a few minutes. But if I were to do a single championship cup, it would take like 10 minutes, and when I do two, it takes like 20, so... it's annoying in that way. You may be thinking it doesn't matter much either way, but I feel like I run out of things to talk about around a 15-16 minute mark if I'm pushing it. Also, these began as like 7-minute long videos, and I don't want to just keep making them longer and longer. But yes, welcome to Mario Kart DS, the game I used to be good at, because my god, I am not as good as I used to be. I'm not like performing atrociously or anything, but there are so many drifts I fuck up. There are so many times when I just miscalculate something like right then, and I think it makes for better footage, and I've actually got a few clips at the end of my actual live commentary reactions to some of the things I do. But yes, hello, if you're wondering where I've been right here uploading videos onto this channel, but I think, conspiracy theory time, YouTube has been suppressing those videos because last week's weekly Waypoint took place on Unreal Tournament, and I've noticed Unreal Tournament ones always get like substantially less views than what I'm used to. And I used to think that was just because people didn't want to click on Unreal Tournament videos. I'm starting to think it's because Unreal Tournament is quite, even though it's like from 1999, it's quite a gory shooter, and I notice people on YouTube tend to like censor out gore and stuff. And speaking of gore, the last video I put out just yesterday, which only has 1 view as at the time of recording, is Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which features plenty of beheadings and dismemberings and that sort of thing. So I think YouTube has probably suppressed that one as well. So if you're interested in either of those two videos, do me a favor and go check them out. I would link to them in this video, but I'm paranoid that YouTube would pick up on that. So instead, we're just playing happy, cheerful, cartoony little Mario Kart where not a single body part is ever severed from its whole. At least I hope not. I don't know, maybe... Maybe the blue shells are a bit more gruesome than I thought they would be. Also, while I was playing, I realised I always choose Yoshi, and I never give any of the other characters love, so the second cup I will be racing as your man Luigi, hell yeah dude. So this week I'd like to talk about how I'm triple dipping on Vikings. Because I last week talked a little bit about my fresh reinstallation of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I have of course spent a fair chunk of this week playing through Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'm almost up to the point now where I last got to the first time I gave this a fair whack, and happy to report I think I'm going to be playing it far past the point that I last dropped it. This time around I am playing as female Ivor. There is some debate online as to which is better. People seem to think the male voice actor is better because he comes from a Viking related TV show. Just personally in terms of a character, I guess, I'm preferring female Ivor from what I remember of male Ivor. They're not exactly different characters or anything, but I don't know, there's just something about female Ivor I prefer. She's no Cassandra, don't get me wrong. I think Cassandra is up there with Ezio for best protagonist in the series, and I don't think Ivor quite reaches that, but she's likeable. I enjoy playing as her. And I've been enjoying the continued story of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where you're kind of building your own settlement in England, and you're kind of forging alliances, and it's not all just about raid. The Vikings were a little bit more nuanced than that, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla certainly embraces that aspect of learned history, which I really appreciate. I've probably mentioned this a bit last week as well. I certainly mentioned it in the Assassin's Creed Valhalla video too, but I've been listening to a podcast called The History of England, which is all about, shocker, the history of England from around the times the Romans left. Pretty much like history as we know it up to modern times, or as far as that guy is going to take that podcast. I believe he's been doing it for over a decade now, but the part I'm listening to is around the 800s for the 900s, so I am learning all about, like, outside of historical fiction, the actual quote-unquote facts of what we know about that era of history. And like I said, you know, not all Vikings were just like, they're not just a race of people called Vikings. Some of them are Norwegians, and some of them are Danes, and some of them are from other areas around that part of the world, and then some of them did lots of raiding, and then some of them kind of like established puppet kings, and some of them established trade with other places, and what they did with their lives and what they believed in and all that kind of stuff. It's just really interesting to learn about. I'm sure it'll all leave my brain again this time next year. I'll have forgotten half of it, but You know, maybe something I need to concentrate on a little bit in life is that it's fine if it's not a lifelong thing that's always in my brain, that I will always know and always enjoy. It can just be a thing I enjoy in the moment, even if it's something like learning. It's not like I'm going to apply this to any exams or any potential future jobs, maybe, but I can't see myself doing that. I don't know what historians do outside of teaching and, I guess, archaeology. I guess it's all just academic work. I don't know. I don't know what a job like that would look like, but hey, who knows? Maybe it's my future dream job that I just don't know about yet. If I could just have a job which was to learn about different eras of history, that would be a great job, but I don't see how that would be a job. I don't see how that would benefit anyone. Unless I did it as a creator-led experience and I got popular and I set up a Patreon and did videos about things I've learned. No, that's just getting back into the teaching side of it anyway, isn't it? So anyway, the third thing I'm doing, so I said I'm triple dipping on Vikings, is I picked up the first 6 books of Bernard Cornwell's series The Last Kingdom, which of course has a Netflix adaptation, which I did see the first season of, but I had a lot less context about, you know, I was like, wait a second, so is England like multiple countries or one country? What's happening here? I didn't know who Alfred was. I guess I didn't pay much attention when they taught me that stuff in primary school, and then they never touched on it again. So without much context, I spent most of my time watching season 1 of The Last Kingdom scratching my head, and I wasn't really able to enjoy it. Whereas now I'm reading the first book, and first of all, the first book covers a lot more stuff than I remember the first season covering. It starts with Uhtred as a kid, and it covers a lot of like his time being kind of, well, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but anyway, it seems to take place in an earlier period of Uhtred's life. It feels like maybe season 1 kind of skipped to book 2 or something. But yeah, more historical fiction. Again, this is another bit of historical fiction that includes nuance about they weren't just raiders, they also established trade, etc. And what's really fun about experiencing these two stories around the same time period is one of them is from the point of view from a Norse Viking, and another is from the point of view of an Anglo-Saxon who had lived, obviously, in Bebenberg his entire life. Bebenberg, that's hard to say. In fact, if you're interested in learning about that era of history, be prepared for a lot of difficult pronunciations. And I mentioned last week that I started reading One Piece. For those of you curious, I got up to around issue 103 or so. Chapter 103 or so. I always get that mixed up with comics. And I've kind of been distracted by The Last Kingdom, which I'm now... It's hard to tell how far through the first book I am, because the way that the first 6 books were packaged, they were packaged into one ebook, so it says I'm like 6% of the way through, but that's 6% of the way through 6 books. But I think I'm like a third or so of the way through the first book. And I want to spend more time reading this year. I've told everyone I want books for my birthday. I've sent them books of like, oh, I would like this book, I would like that book. And obviously I know I'm not going to sit down and read all the books back to back, but it is a lot of franchise fiction, which isn't exactly the most highbrow novels out there, but that's not really... I'm not interested in being highbrow. I'm interested in diving more into worlds I already like, so I'm looking to get into Star Wars books, like the High Republic stuff. I'm looking to get into Assassin's Creed books, which are part novelization, part expanding on the story, part... Some of them are like... I guess just complete side stories with different eras of history, etc. But historical fiction is something I've been meaning to dip my toes into for a long time now, and I'm really excited about how much I'm enjoying The Last Kingdom so far. I feel like I've just discovered this entire genre, which could be pretty fun. Anyway then, besides Assassin's Creed Valhalla, what have I been playing this week? Well, I have also been playing Tales of Kenzera Zao. And when I say I've been playing it, I mean I've played like the first hour of it, but it's left a really solid first impression on me. For those of you who don't know, Tales of Kenzera Zao is a Metroidvania, I believe is how one would categorize it. It is it's an EA original indie game, and it's made, I think it's like helmed by the guy who voices Bayek in Assassin's Creed Origins. When this first came on stage during, I think it was like the Game Awards or E3 or something, I was immediately just like, oh, I love the style of this game, I love how it looks. In particular, I really love like the UI and like the house style they've gone with for it. It's just really clean. I think with a lot of indie games, sadly they can not put much stock in like having a really good polished UI, but I've said this before, a good UI is really important, I think, for the user experience in a video game. Like, it's almost like this subconscious thing, but like if your UI looks kind of like half-baked, I feel like because that's on screen at all times, some part of your subconscious feels like the game has less polish than it actually does. Anyway, like I say, I haven't really got very far through it yet, but I really enjoyed the combat. You kind of have like these two combat styles that you can swap between on the go, and one's more to do with ranged and one's more to do with melee, although the ranged one does have a little melee attribute to it as well. And the way you can kind of like just swap between these while you're fighting enemies lends to some really fun, fluid combat. Also, the story, from what I've seen of it so far, is really good. It's very much about someone dealing with the grief of losing their father, and that's like one of my biggest fears in life, because I'm really close to my dad. So I'm like, hey, it'd probably be healthy for me to, you know, read stories like this for a little bit. Hopefully I won't need them for a very long time, though. Speaking of, I guess you'd call it a platformer, I'm also playing Marble It Up Ultra. Now, Marble It Up is a game I originally bought on Switch, and for those of you who don't know, if you ever played a game called Marble Blast on the Xbox Live Arcade back in the day, it's the spiritual successor to that. You roll around as a little colourful marble. A lot of people compare it to Super Monkey Ball, even though Super Monkey Ball is a little bit different because you kind of control the world instead of the actual monkey. In this, you're a marble, you control a marble, you can jump. It's very much like a momentum-based thing as well. And it's very much based on, like, you know, part of it is to do with clearing the stages, and part of it is to do with how fast can you clear the stage as well. And I really enjoy that. It reminds me of trying to push for relic times in Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, which is something I really want to get around to doing and might spend some time doing this week. Eat shit, Toad. Sorry, if you weren't concentrating on the gameplay, you're probably like, wait, what? I also picked up a game called PictoPix, which is a nonogram game, which, if you don't know what a nonogram is, it's just a fancy schmancy word for Picross. I do like a bit of Picross, you know. And this is probably the best Picross you can find on PC. Boatload of levels. I've just got to the 15 by 15 levels, and I keep, like, you know, the problem with Picross is you can think you're doing it right, and then you look up from one mistake, and then you look at the rest of the picture and you realise you've made 17 mistakes and there's no way of rectifying it short of restarting. At least that's how I fail at Picross, and that seems to be happening to me a lot with the 15 by 15 ones, and I know it's going to get harder and harder from here. So yeah, I'm a novice Picross enjoyer, but I've yet to really hone my skills or develop, I guess, logic solving memory for the harder stuff. You know, sometimes I really wish I was better at stringing sentences together, considering I've done this for 319 weeks in a row, but whatever. On the MMO side, because there's always an MMO side, I finally uninstalled Star Wars The Old Republic. I say finally, it's been like a month. I've really enjoyed my time with Star Wars The Old Republic, and I will get back to it. But I kind of fizzled out after I realised that I wanted to experience all the Empire side story stuff in terms of the expansions through a light side Sith warrior, because my dark side Sith Inquisitor is just a little bit too comically evil for the lens which I want to experience that story with. But it, you know, I could have made my Sith warrior and started that and probably continued my love of SWTOR, but I really want to make a Nautiloid. Are they called Nautiloid? The Kit Fisto dudes. I really wanted to make one of those my Sith warrior, and I would need cartel coins for that, and I would need to wait for my monthly subscription to renew to... Yeah, it is a whole thing, and the real reason... That's just one small reason. The real reason why I uninstalled SWTOR and put it on the shelf for a little bit is because I needed room to reinstall Final Fantasy XIV. Final Fantasy XIV, a game I dropped about 3 months ago at this point, is about to have its next expansion. I started playing right at the start of Endwalker, so this will be, I guess, my first new expansion experience, which is cool. Which means I also finally have a 30% XP boost item, which I made the mistake of getting very excited about because I'm also playing this alongside WoW Remix Mists of Pandaria, where I have a 300% XP boost in dungeons on alts, and therefore, despite being able to level up faster than ever before in that game, it still feels incredibly slow to me to level alts, and that's very much an acclimatization thing. Usually when I'm like properly hyperfixated on Final Fantasy XIV and it's like my main game, I'm not worrying too much about how long it takes to level alts because I'm kind of used to the pace of that game. But coming off of WoW Remix, it feels so glacial that it's kind of immediately kind of popped my balloon of intrigue and excitement. But that's not the only thing to do in 14, so I'm probably going to look up a video about things that might be pertinent to do before Dawn Trail releases, and just kind of like, it's just nice because they're currently doing a returning players can return for free until almost Dawn Trail release. So it's nice to know I'm not like wasting sub time if I just pop in for the odd dungeon or two every now and again. I wish as well I had a bigger hard drive, or solid state drive I guess I should say, because it would be nice to just stop having to uninstall and reinstall every single MMO I own every single time I want to swap up which one I'm playing. Also the sub fee would be nice to waive, but that's a fool's dream. I feel like the way my brain works with my attention span and everything isn't very conducive to the MMO game plan, so maybe I'm asking for things which are a little bit weird here, but I would love it if I could just like not think about an MMO for a few months and then hop in and do a random dungeon and then continue not thinking about it for a few months, but that requires installing 100 gigabytes and paying £10. Usually, anyway. You might say, Christian, you can solve half of that problem by just getting a bigger solid state drive. And I say to you, solid state drives these days are like fucking hardwired onto the CPU board or some shit, and I don't know how to deal with that, and I'm a very anxious person in terms of I don't want to just fuck up my computer by not understanding how to do something and losing hundreds and hundreds of pounds. So I'm good just whinging instead, thanks. Maybe they're not hardwired onto the CPU or some shit. I don't remember. It's been like years since I thought about this. Okay, don't hurt me. But anyway, last thing, as I said, I've also been playing a lot of WoW Remix still. I plan to continue playing a lot of that still. I now have I have 2 level 70 characters. I have an Alliance and a Horde character. I have my Windwalker Monk and I have my I guess spoilers for the next World of Warcraft video I make. I have my Affliction Warlock, my Nightborn. I finally have a Horde at max level for the first time since BFA. I also have a Shaman Troll, Elemental Shaman Troll, who is working his way up there in levels. He's level 60, and yeah, I want to continue pushing, spending most of my MMO time in WoW until Dawn Trail comes out, probably. Just continually pushing characters up to higher levels so that I can have, ideally, one of every class, but I'm probably not quite going to reach that. I just really enjoy making new characters. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this episode of A Weekly Waypoint. Coming up just before the end, I do have some bloopers. Not bloopers, but like live reactions to things which happened while I was playing this game. I don't normally do this, but I thought it might be fun. Like if you liked it, comment if you want, and I will see you in whatever I make next. Ta-ra. Oh my god, are you serious? Get fucked. Bullying Toad. So fun. That's brutal. What the fuck? That's so unfair. Oh my god.